But anyways,
All
who do you
right.
go to next? Is it Lance or Fields is the most impressive?
So, at the risk of coming across as a homer here, Trey Lance was second for me. So Lance had obviously that bomb. We talked about it already. I think it traveled in the neighborhood of 50 yards in the air. The guy had separation. It was a great throw, regardless of the separation. It was a great throw, good play design, and that I think led to, obviously he had 128 yards at 80 came on that one play. He was 5 of 14. There were a couple drops. I think what I saw with Lance that I didn't see with Fields is Lance seemed to there was twice that I recall that Lance really put a ball like on a defender, like should have been intercepted. One may have been a little tough, but two times he threw a ball like basically right at a guy. And what I saw with Lance was just that inexperience still, and he not that he looked rattled per se, but when that first option wasn't available to him, I didn't see him necessarily making plays the way that Justin Fields did, and rolling out of the pocket, staying calm, keeping his eyes downfield. Like I said, he had two throws that sort of seemed like panic throws to me, and could have been intercepted. All in all, I thought he looked very good, though. I mean, like he throws a fucking amazing ball, and he was right on the money with a lot of their concepts, like right on time. And I think he looks like the guy to me for San Francisco. He didn't look rattled to the point where I would be worried about him. Now, again, the caveat, we're facing bland defenses, facing second, third stringers, all that stuff
Slow
aside. But
defenses in Justin Fields' term, right?
yeah, slow defenses. But Trey also got to play with a lot of starters, which is something that I think a lot of these guys didn't necessarily get the opportunity to. Trey Sermon played a lot with him. Their announcer kept referring to it as the Trey package. And, his first ball was to Brandon Ayuk,
Ironic
who,
that there's only two people in the trade package, but yeah.
yeah, exactly. His first ball was to Brandon Ayuk, who, he dropped it, but
That was an
just,
absolute fucking bullet. Like, I can't imagine having a better first pass in my career.
yeah.
Mostly because I can't throw the ball like that in general. But should
Oh,
I
you
be able
can't?
to, for Ayuk to just drop that, and that's going to be a concern for him. I was ready to anoint Lance as the winner of this initial quarterback competition because it was ironic in that he came out hot. Right, he's only 5 of 14. You didn't feel that way because he was putting the ball on
Yeah.
receivers, and like you said, there are 2 or 3 drops that are in there. Obviously, I'm not going to omit the 80-yard pass to Sherfield in your fantasy leagues. Maybe consider Sherfield because it kind of looks like he's on the Tyreek Hill or the Quentin, what's his name, Watson, for the Eagles kind
Oh,
of trek
mm-hmm,
right now.
mm-hmm.
But what concerns me about him is the touch, and he throws the hell out of the ball. He puts that on the receivers. He
Yeah.
he can do it in the screen game. We saw it a couple times, but those 5 yard curls, the 10 yard ends, he's throwing bullets out there. And
Yeah.
the risk there is those are tip balls, right? If you put it on your
Right.
receiver too hot, those become interceptions.
Do
I
you think
would
he was just too amped? Do you think that was part of it?
I think that's definitely part of it, right? You want to get the ball out quick. You want to get to your receivers as soon as possible. When you see that window's open, you want to hit that open window. But there's got to be a recognition that people, I mean, I remember the receivers talking about Brett Favre, right? Where their hands actually hurt after catching his passes. And it's like, yeah, that's partially why he was one of the interception kings, along with the fact that he liked to free Lance a lot. But what I would ultimately take out of this is that 49ers are going to be pretty damn good. The difference between Garoppolo and Lance is when you have Garoppolo has to get the ball into the playmaker's hands.
Yeah.
When Lance is your quarterback, the ball starts in your playmaker's hands. And
Yeah.
as long as he can not throw interceptions, not fumble. He did ultimately have one fumble on 4 sacks, and that's going to be concerning for them long term, and why I think Garoppolo is still in the driver's seat at this point. But
Yeah.
he's got tremendous talent, and he just needs to rein that in and figure out how he hits those short intermediate passes with some touch, and still being confident. But the fact that after that first Ayuk drop, and I mean a couple of other long passes that weren't ultimately completed, he kept his head up and kept running. It was fantastic. But the difference between him and Fields was that he was hot off the start, and Fields progressed, right?
Right.
Like, you could see the development, the learning. You can say that it was
In real
because
time.
the defense was getting less and less effective because they were subbing out, their starters. But he went from 3-and-out on his first 3 drives to I think he ended up with 12 of 14 for 130 some odd yards and a touchdown, as well as a rushing touchdown after his first 3 drives. Like,
Yeah.
that was what was impressive about Fields over Lance.
Yeah. Fields definitely was lights out. I'll close out my thought on Lance. One thing that we didn't see from him, which you mentioned makes him special, is him running the ball, and that's definitely something that, whether he's the starter or not, Kyle Shanahan is going to use him for. And I think in a regular season setting, we might see Shanahan run him a little bit more than we got to see this time around, and that might help negate some of he, like you said, he took 4 sacks, and those aren't all on him, but sacks are, as we learn more and more about this thing, becoming a quarterback statistic, because you have the ability to get rid of the ball and can control that element of it. But
Yeah,
I think,
and just to finish on that, there was one screen pass that he threw where there wasn't a defender within 7 yards of the wide receiver, because all three linebackers were concerned about where the fuck he was on the field.
yeah,
So to be able to get 7 yards of separation on a screen pass, that's unheard of. And that's basically a punt return at that point, right? You're
yeah,
diving forward for 10 yards.
yeah. And Kyle Shanahan is going to dial those things up. He's going to get man advantages from a blocking standpoint. And I think I agree with you. I think the 49ers are going to be pretty good, especially if Trey Lance can build off of what he did going forward here.